I bet $1,000 you have never heard of Halfbrick Studios, but you have already played their games. Neither had I before making these researches, but I'm sure that by the end of the video you'll understand that the title is not a clickbait. They really revolutionized mobile gaming. The first years for this company weren't that perfect. Founded in 2001 in Australia, Halfbrick Studios struggled to avoid bankruptcy since their first masterpiece, Fruit Ninja. Even though they faced a lot of financial problems, they were still able to release some good games for the Game Boy Advance, the PSP and the Nintendo DS, such as Age of Zombies and some other games. In 2008 the company was in bad troubles, the games weren't going as expected and all the funds were running out. They had 12 months to create some new cheap games and earn some money. That's when our hero, Luke Muscat, came up with the perfect idea. A satisfying game, easy to play and super intuitive. Taking inspiration from a knife commercial spot and Quake 3, he found the perfect way to use the touchscreen of the new iPhone 3GS. Slicing fruits with a blade. Since the company was desperately trying to create new games, this masterpiece had been created by just 3 people and in a very short time. In fact, if you think about it, it's quite easy to design and program a game like Fruit Ninja. The thing that led it to become one of the greatest mobile games is its innovative concept. This game was so satisfying to play. I mean, we both remember the sound was lighting the fruit, the wood in the background changing color, and the score raising to new records. Halfbrick didn't even have enough money to pay for a trailer for its new game, and so that's what their advertisement ended up like. I know, that's embarrassing, I'm sorry for those guys. By the way, the game is eventually released and it immediately starts to show its potential. The team decided to go on with the idea and in the first 12 months they updated it 14 times. Even though they decided to maintain the easy concept and gameplay that brought success to the game. Some things like Zen mode, which was like the cheat mode because there weren't bombs, were added. They also created a shop, the Sensei Swag, where you could unlock new blades and stuffs just by completing some easy tasks while playing. When iOS 4.1 came out, Fruit Ninja was one of the first games to add multiplayer and despite not becoming that successful, it was a demonstration of how big the Fruit Ninja team was after the launch. There weren't just 3 people working on it anymore, it was now a huge part of Halfbrick Studios. The last big update was the arcade mode, inspired by Bejeweled Blitz, a match-free game with 60-second game mode time. In this mode you have to slice as many fruits as possible in just 1 minute while avoiding the bombs. You can also use some combos, bonuses like the banana one, but also power-ups you can get from the blades. In 2016, Halfbrick Studios released Fruit Ninja VR. In this 3D game, you have to swing your arms like if you're really cutting fruits with some sort of blades. In addition to the free mode that also the mobile game has, there is the survival mode. The gameplay has no differences, but after 3 misses you're out of the games. The sequel of this first game was dropped in 2020 as Fruit Ninja 2. Of course, the core is the same, but it has updated graphics with smoother animations, more multiplayer functions, new characters, different game modes, with daily challenges and seasonal events. Exactly what you expected from a sequel. Honestly, it's not that bad, but after 10 years, they could have definitely came out with something bigger to truly revolutionize the brand. Another masterpiece from Halfbrick is Jetpack Joyride. This game released in 2011 took inspiration from Monster Dash, a game of the same developers which was released with Fruit Ninja as the safe option, as they were already taking a lot of risks with that one. Monster Dash ended up being a quite successful game, with more than 1 million copies sold and nearly $1 million of profits. The idea for Jetpack Joyride came from a specific power-up of the Monster Dash game, and initially it was going to be a free spin-off of that game, just to thank their fans giving them a present for Christmas. In this spin-off you were able to use the machine gun jetpack all the time, instead of using it with a limited time and switching between many other weapons as it was in the original game. The game looked so simple and they already had the art from Monster Dash, so they thought it could have been developed in just 4 weeks. As for Fruit Ninja, only 3 people started to work at this project and during the time some of them left and others joined. Unfortunately, the reality was that the game was way harder to script and design than they expected. Those months were really hard. While they were still rushing updates for Fruit Ninja and thinking about new games, they had this project that needed always more effort to don't throw it in the trash. What was expected to be just a funny game for Christmas was becoming a nightmare. The idea was good, but not enough to become a worldwide success, so it was like spending a lot of time and money on something that cannot succeed. The first month passed without a real result, and they eventually came out with the game after 10 months, on September 2011. After all those work, the game was perfect in every detail. As a one-tap endless runner game, it was incredibly well structured. The gameplay was perfect to keep the player glued to the screen, and there were a lot of great ideas like the badges, the missions, the gadgets, and the abilities, but also the animation and the characters helped a lot. In the first trailers they called this game Machine Gun Jetpack, which honestly doesn't really sound so good. Fortunately, after a lot of brainstorming and with the help of other guys, they decided to call it as we all now know. Even though for a moment they wanted to call it Machine Fun Jetpack. After the release, it hit the #1 on the App Store after a very short time, and now it has nearly a billion downloads. The success of this first game led us to its sequel, Jetpack Joyride 2, released in 2022. As we know from many other games, the sequels aren't that great or they are just horrible. But that's not the case, because it is worse. Let me explain. The game isn't actually bad. It looks like a quite good new generation game. It's not just like the original game with a better graphic. It introduced a lot of new stuff. You can upgrade Barry's abilities, guns and jetpacks. It's not just an infinite runner game. It also has boss battles and fights with different enemies during the classic runs, and you can have fun with the story mode. The main problem of this game is that it's only available for who has Apple Arcade, a subscription that costs $7 per month, and of course not a lot of people are okay with spending all that money for the game. Nobody liked that choice because all Android players were completely excluded and just iOS players could use it but paying a subscription. Hopefully the situation will change in 2026, because when the contract with Apple expires, the game is likely going to be available on Android devices. But let's focus back on the software house, Halfbrick Studios. Do you know what they did in the last years? In the post-Jetpack Joyride era, they tried to achieve the same success with other games, but none of them managed to become a worldwide success. However, they launched some good games like Fish Out of Water, a casual game where you launch fish across the ocean, Colossatron, a unique action strategy game where you control a giant robotic snake destroying cities, Dan the Man, a retro-style platformer with beat-em-up mechanics, which became one of the most popular post-Jetpack Joyride era games. Their last successful game is the online version of Rascals, a competitive multiplayer puzzle game. Since they couldn't create a game with a massive impact like Fruit Ninja, they decided to solve their financial problems, firing a lot of game designers and focusing on in-app purchases, trying to monetize from old games. They aren't working on new big projects since Jetpack Joyride 2, but they are still updating Fruit Ninja and Dan the Man, because if they die, the company dies. Unfortunately, as you could imagine, the situation of Halfbrick isn't that good, and even though I really hope to see a new masterpiece coming from them, I'm pretty sure they have already shown us all their potential. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe they are secretly developing a new incredible game, or are they just doomed to keep updating the old ones?